Hello everyone, this is Recon Stewart, and today we're going to be flying the 476th Initial Qualification Training Mission 2, which is instrument departures and ILS landings. Before we get started in the cockpit, we need to go over a few things. This is the 476th Fighter Group airport diagrams and instrument procedures and departures, put together by Snoopy and Noodle. And so we're going to skip to Vazani, which is where we're taking off from. And here is the airport diagram for Vazani. You can see that it's located in Tbilisi, Georgia. Tower channel is VHF AM 140.0, and the tower frequency on the uniform radio, the UHF radio, is 257.625. And you can see that we have a general layout of the airfield here, a bunch of revetments, taxiways, fire station, base of operations, control tower, the runway itself. You can see that runway 320 going northwest is here, and runway 14 going southeast is there. The field elevation at runway 14 is 1512, whereas the field elevation runway 32 is 1482. You can see you've got your southern end of runway for de-arming and shutdown procedures is here. Your northern EOR for shutdown procedures and de-arming is here. And then each of the taxiways is actually labeled. So you've got Echo, Delta, Charlie, Bravo, Alpha, Foxtrot, and Golf here, all the way up to Hotel and Juliet. So that's the overview of the airfield. And in the 476, instead of setting QFE, we actually set whatever runway we're taking off from as our altimeter setting. So in this case we'd set to 1480 to match this altimeter setting, and then once we get above 10,000 we'd switch it to 2992 to be sea level, and then back again once we cross 10,000 going down. Alright, let's skip. So the first thing we're going to do is an instrument departure, and Vazani has two separate instrument departures. One is the Obora departure, which is listed here, and the other is Logos 1 departure. Today we're going to be doing the Obora departure, so we're going to kind of go over this. Again, on the screen you can see that the tower frequency is 140.0, or the uniform frequency 257.625. And basically what a instrument departure is if we have low visibility and the tower wants to make sure that all flights departing Vazani depart the same way, so it's a deconfliction and there won't be any mid-air collisions. So there's two versions here: if you take off runway 14 or you take off runway 32. And they're both listed on here, both visually and in text. So we'll go ahead and read the text first for takeoff runway 14. So you start at 14. Oh, let me go over this real quick. Here's the Vazani TACAN station, channel 22, and Tbilisi TACAN station, channel 25, both X-ray, 22 X-ray, 25 X-ray. And they're listed here as kind of a upside down triangle or a hub right here. You can see the runway is listed here. So if we were to take off runway 14, we would climb on track 130 using our TACAN and course deviation indicator to maintain that line. And at 3,000 feet, we would turn right until we hit track 300, and then we would continue hitting track 300 to intercept and proceed outbound via track 281 to 24.5 miles out. However, this track 281 is based off of Tbilisi, not Vazani. So once you make this turn, you have to switch your TACAN station to 25 X-ray so that when you hit the 281 course, you're actually using a radial out from Tbilisi and not Vazani. And you continue here until you hit 24.5 miles out, and you want to be flight level 16,000 or higher when you hit 24.5 miles. That's for takeoff runway 14. Today, we're going to be doing the takeoff runway 32. So we'll go ahead and set TACAN station 22 X-ray. We'll set course heading to 310, and we will climb out on track 310. And on the TACAN, our distance measuring equipment will show 8 miles as we head this track. And once we hit 8 miles out, we will turn left 250 degrees, continuing to climb, continuing to keep our speed at 200 knots, using our pitch in order to maintain the 200 knots. And we will go 250. Once we are heading 250, we're actually going to come down and switch our TACAN to 25 X-ray and change our course heading that we're looking to hit to 281 degrees. And once we do that, we will have our course deviation indicator that we can use in order to turn on and be heading 281 once we turn that 8-mile turn from Vazani. This will all make a lot more sense when we actually get in the cockpit. Anyway, once we hit 281, we continue going at 200 knots, and we continue climbing until we reach Angel 16, or 16,000 feet. And once we hit 24.5 miles out from Tbilisi on TACAN 25 X-ray, we will call Vazani and let them know that we have departed their airspace. So if we had a 4-flight, we would take off in 20-second intervals, and we would rejoin once we were clear Vazani's airspace, 26, 27 miles out here, and then we'd be free to go whichever way we had to for our mission. But the purpose of this instrument departure is due to the inclement weather and just deconflicting all these flights leaving to make sure that everybody's on the same track out and we don't have any mid-air collisions. Alright, so once we've completed a instrument departure, we're going to go through and do I suppose let's zoom in a little better. Once we do an instrument departure, we're going to go and fly and turn around, and we're going to come back, and we're going to do an ILS approach so that we can land runway 320 at Vazani. So let me skip to the high ILS approach. Oh, that's TACAN. Here it is. Okay. So as you can see, for Vazani, our ILS station is going to be 108.75. Our heading for runway 32 is actually going to be 310. Our runway length is 8,120 feet. Our elevation at runway 32 is 1482 feet. And the airport elevation itself is 1512. We also have our uniform frequency listed again, 257.625, and our tower frequency on the VHF AM station as 140.0. You'll notice this 140.1, this is a frequency the 476 uses to stop from having all the radio traffic from the artificial intelligence tower. Alright, and then here is some instructions for missed approach, but we will get into this down below. So if you remember correctly, we took off from Vazani and we made our way out through Abora, and we flew out here and we turned around and we're going to come south and we're going to change our TACAN station from 25 X-ray of Tbilisi that we use for our instrument departure and change it back to 22 X-ray for Vazani. And then we're going to change our course heading knob to 72 degrees so that we can hit Bagum at the right angle. So we're going to fly out here south. Once our course deviation knob starts to come in, we'll make a left turn so that we're flying in here at 72 degrees. And during that time, we'll actually descend from 16,000 feet to flight level 14,000 feet. So we can hit Bagum here at 25 miles out from Vazani. This radial here is 25 miles out on heading 72072. Now, if for instance we were in a multiple flight with multiple aircraft, we might have to enter a holding pattern. So this holding pattern here is described. So if we're not clear to go in for our ILS approach from Bagum, we'll actually make a 30-degree left bank turn to hit 252, and this will be a 5-mile track, and we'll keep flying this racetrack formation until we're cleared for landing. And you can do this by watching your DME on your TACAN. When it hits 30, you'd make your left-hand turn back to 72. When you hit 25, you make your left-hand turn back to 252, and so on until you get cleared in. So let's say we get cleared in. We'll announce our intent to approach Vazani, runway 32, once we cross Bagum here, still maintaining a flight level of 14,000 feet. And as we get close to Point Fan here, which is 11 miles out from Vazani on this TACAN radial station, 22 X-ray is the station, we are going to turn and make this what we call a DME arc. Now, you need to make your turn before 11 miles, otherwise you're going to be too close. If you can see this radial around here is 10 nautical miles away from the airfield. We need to be 11 miles away from the airfield. So in order to do this, you need to make your turn at approximately 14 miles out. You're going to start descending, and you're going to start turning at 30 degrees. And as you do that, you're going to keep the TACAN station at your 9 o'clock on your HSI. You're just going to keep slightly turning, making sure that you keep the TACAN pointer at the 9 o'clock, and making sure that you keep the distance at 11 miles or maybe a little bit more away from Vazani. And we're going to continue flying this arc until we reach Point Turbin. Now, as you can see, we're going to turn in here at Turbin, and we're going to be on final approach to land at Vazani, runway 32. Now, the way that you know how to turn is you're going to set your course knob back to 310 for the runway, and as that course deviation indicator comes in, you're going to make your 30-degree banking turn and come in here so that you're on the glide slope for an ILS approach. When you know to turn is when heading 140 on your HSI crosses your 3 o'clock position. That's when you make your 30-degree banking turn to come in here on the glide slope for runway 32. Again, this will all make a lot more sense once we're in the cockpit and you can see how I'm doing it in real time. So during this, let me back up a second. During this DME arc here, we're going to be continually descending, and we're going to be continually keeping that TACAN station at our 9 o'clock and continually keeping it at 11 miles away so that we can make this turn onto final. Once we reach this point, we need to be at 5,000 feet or between 4,800 and 5,000 feet so we can hit the glide slope. As you can see, Point Turbin is 11 miles out from the TACAN station of Vazani. And if we scroll down here, we'll see our glide slope. So here's Turbin. You need to be at 4,800 feet, and then you need to be continuing down the glide slope. When you reach Burner, which is 5.4 miles out from the TACAN station, you need to be at 3,000 feet in order to be maintaining that glide slope. Once you turn here onto Turbin, you need to turn on your ILS system and your needles and be using your needle system and the ILS system in order to hit this glide slope and maintain it all the way to the runway. You will not, because of the weather, you will not be able to see the runway until the last possible minute. Now, let's say, for instance, that you missed your approach and you have to go around. What you will do is call missed approach, and you will level out above the runway, and you'll keep flying until you've cleared the other side of the runway, where you will then put your pitch angle up and climb to 3,000 feet. Once you hit 3,000 feet, you're going to make a left-hand turn to heading 225 and continue climbing to flight level 14,000 feet until you hit Bagum, and then you're going to re-enter the pattern here and then start your approach again. So this is just kind of a visual representation of the missed approach. This is our visual representation of the ILS approach. And then, of course, here is a text version of the missed approach. Climb to 3,000 and then a climbing left turn to flight level 14,000 on heading 225 to join 252 to Bagum, and hold until you are cleared in for another approach. Clear as mud, I know. So let's jump into TAC view, and I'll show you what it looks like with moving pieces, and then we'll jump into the cockpit, and I'll show you how to do this in the aircraft. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. So we're going to be doing the TAC view portion of this IQT2 training, so you can kind of see it, what it should look like from the outset. So here we are at Vazani, taking off runway 32 on our instrument departure to Abora. So I'm going to hit play here, and getting our takeoff going, and we're heading out, heading 310 for 8 miles, and once we hit that 8 miles out, we just hit it right there. We're going to turn for heading 250, and then we are going to meet up with, change our TACAN station to Tbilisi 25 X-ray. We're going to hit the radial 281, and then we're going to continue heading 281 for Abora, and we'll hit that at 24.5 miles out. And once we've done that, we've actually cleared Vazani's airspace and free to go wherever we'd like at that point. So I'm going to hit the radial right about now. We're now heading 281, making some slight corrections, and we're heading straight for Abora. And once we cross Abora there, we are now clear of Vazani's airspace and free to head any which way we want to. However, we're going to come back and do our ILS approach and land back at runway 32 Vazani. So we're going to continue 10 miles out past Abora and then make a left turn heading due south. Now at this point, we're going to set our TACAN back to Vazani 22 X-ray. We're going to change our course heading to 072 so that we can hit Bagum at the right angle in order to hit fan, so that we can start into our DME arc, where represented there by the green. If you're in the red, you're too close, and you're within the 10-mile radius from Vazani, and it's going to make it a lot harder to hit that glide slope. So here we are, we're still heading south. The course deviation indicator is slightly moving towards us, and as it gets closer and closer, we're going to start our turn so that we are heading radial 072 towards Bagum and eventually towards fan. And once we're on that radial 072, we're going to decrease our altitude to 14,000 feet. And once we hit Bagum, let's speed it up here, we're going to call that we're en route for a high ILS approach to runway 32 for Vazani. And we're going to continue at 14,000 feet until we are about fan. Fan is 11 miles out from Vazani. We're going to start our turn onto the DME arc at about 14 miles out so we don't get too close. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So when we make this turn, it's going to be a 30-degree banking turn and a 5-degree pitch down angle in order to start losing altitude. So here comes our turn. And I may have started a little late because we're a little inside, but I'm going to correct and come back out to the DME arc in the green there. And then we're going to continue descending. We're going to continue keeping the TACAN station at our 9 o'clock on the HSI. And we're going to continue keeping Vazani 11 miles out on our DME head reading on the HSI. And we're going to continue making this turn, and then once we get where heading 140 is at our 3 o'clock, we're going to make a 30-degree banking turn and come on to turbine at approximately 4,800 feet so we can hit the ILS glide slope. And we should be making the turn here. You can see we're passing turbine. You're always going to cut turbine on the inside, but as long as you're at 4,800 feet, you're going to be hitting that glide slope appropriately. And we're going to be lowering our gear, lowering our flaps, and trying to get on this glide slope for Vazani 3.2 by the time we hit burner. So here we are passing burner. We are on the glide slope. We are following our needles, keeping the horizontal and vertical needles centered. Everything is cloud cover right now. Can't see anything. But as long as we're following those ILS needles, we're going to come out of the clouds and the runway should be directly in front of us. And we're going to make a nice landing. And we are home free at Vazani via a high ILS approach. And we'll go ahead and taxi off and shut down. Alright, so that's what it's supposed to look. Those are what the charts are. This is the TAC view of what it's supposed to look like. Let's jump into the cockpit and show you how to do it inside the plane. Be right back. Vazani, Cowboy 1-1, taking active 3-2, departure via Abora. Cowboy 1-1, brake set. Run them up. 90%. Make sure our engines are in the green holding. Turning off nose wheel steering. Brakes, brakes, brakes. Full throttle. Our rotation for today is 130. And let me set our rotating. Gear up. Flaps up. As you can see, our course deviation line is coming in as we're hitting course 310. Still at full throttle, waiting until we get to 200 knots here. And now I'm turning on 310. Pretty choppy in these clouds right now. Alright, we're at 200 knots, throttling back to ITT 750 on both engines. Looks good. Still maintaining 200 knots with my pitch angle. Trying to trim out my aircraft. We're going to wait until we are 8 miles from Vazani on our DME indicator here. And we're just going to maintain this course and 200 knots with a slight pitch in order to gain altitude. One mile out from our turn to heading 250. Cowboy 11 passing 6 of 16. Alright, here comes 8 miles out from Vazani. Bank angle 30 degrees, maintaining our pitch and 200 knots. Steering for 250. Leveling out, well, leveling our bank, maintaining our pitch. Cowboy 11 passing 8 of 16. Alright, hitting path, autopilot, changing TACAN station from Vazani to Tbilisi at 25 X-ray, and changing our course heading to 281 for an intercept to Abora. Dang it. There we go. Still maintaining 250, 200 knots. Autopilot back off. Cowboy 11 passing 10 of 16. So we're keeping a close eye on that course deviation line. When it starts to come in, we'll make our turn for heading 281. You can see that it's moving now. I think we'll start our turn as it gets to about halfway between that inner dot and my plane. Making the turn to 281, 30-degree bank. Turn was just a little sharp, so I'm going to straighten it out here so we get the right radial. Still maintaining my climb, still maintaining 200 knots. Cowboy 11 passing 12 of 16. A little bit of trim. Cowboy 1-1 passing 14 of 16. A little more speed than I want, so I'm going to increase my pitch angle. If any MiGs are trailing us, they aren't going to be able to see us in that sun. Of course, they have radar, whereas we do not. Leveling off 16,000. Gauge my autopilot here. Alright, so if you remember, we're going to clear Obora at 24.5 miles as long as we're flying the 281 radial from Tbilisi. Remember, we changed TACAN stations from Vazani to Tbilisi. Vazani, Cowboy 1-1, departing your airspace via Obora. Alright, so we are off out of Vazani's air traffic, and at this point we are ready to head anywhere we need to go for whatever mission we are en route to. However, for initial qualification training, we are just going to make a turn and head back to Vazani and attempt an ILS landing from Bagam to Fan to Turbine and to Final, which is Burner. So we'll stay on 281 for about another 7 miles, and then we will start our turn back to Vazani. While we're waiting, I'm going to switch our TACAN stations back to Vazani. And change our course heading to 072, which just starts us back to Bagam. Oh, I just had it. There we go. I've set my modification key and my CMS left and right to adjust my HSI course heading, and up and down adjusts my altitude altimeter settings, excuse me. Alright, autopilot off, maintaining 16,000 feet, 30-degree bank turn until heading perpendicular to the intercept of 072 for Bagam. Alright, we are perpendicular to radial 072 out of Vazani. We'll level off at 16,000. Trim out my plane here. Go ahead and engage the autopilot again. Alright, we can see the course deviation line is moving, and as it crosses that inner dot, I'm going to make my turn 30 degrees. Here we go, maintaining 16,000. Letting off the turn just slightly so we can get the course just perfect. Alright, we are heading 072 for Bagum. I'm going to drop altitude to 14,000. while maintaining this heading. Leveling off 14,000 feet. Trim out my plane here. We're going to cross Bagum at 25 miles out. Vazani, Cowboy 1-1, one ship A-10 crossing Bagum, inbound Vazani, runway 32 via high ILS approach. So we call that out at Bagum, which is 25 miles to the west of Vazani. We know that because our DME is here, and we are on a heading right for Vazani. So what we're going to do when we hit 14 miles is make a slow right turn descending and enter the DME arc, or the TACAN arc if you will, and we're going to take this TACAN pointer and put it directly at our 9 o'clock and keep it there while maintaining a distance of 11 miles from Vazani so that we can orbit to the southern side of the runway and hit the ILS glide slope at Turbine. I'm going to adjust my HSI course to 310. Alright, starting my turn, trying to maintain 250 knots, 5-degree pitch, down pitch, and 250 knots. You can see I'm about to get the TACAN station at my 9 o'clock, and I level out while maintaining the descent. Trim it out here, keep that TACAN at 9 o'clock and 11 miles out from Vazani. I'm going to go down to 5,000 feet. I'm going to enter the clouds at probably Angels 8. Keeping that steady arc going, keeping the TACAN station at my 9 o'clock, staying 11 miles out. Slow descent, keeping my airspeed consistent. When heading 140 passes our 3 o'clock, that's when we know it's time to turn onto our runway heading. We're going to level off at 5,000 feet. I'm going to go ahead and turn on my ILS. Uncage my bars. Alright, time to make the turn onto final heading. Vazani, Cowboy 1-1, crossing Bagham on initial for runway 32. Alright, we are lined up. Turn on our ILS system. And now we just keep the arrow, the lines in the center. Need to lose some altitude here. Gear down. Flaps down. Need to center my needles. Slow, methodical movements. Nothing big. Once we come out of the clouds, we're hoping to see the runway directly in front of us.
Altitude, altitude.
Which we do. Slow down to landing speed here. Full speed brakes out. Wheel brakes. Welcome back to Vazani. Gonna let this drag out here. Disregard. Vazani, Cowboy 11, exiting runway 32, taxiing to northern EOR. Alright everyone, thanks for watching. That was the 476th IQT 2 instrument departure and ILS landing in inclement weather. Thanks for watching. This is Recon Stewart. We'll see you next time.